artist with years of experience under her belt. Her professional music career started in 2008 following the release of her first debut studio album titled Ogaju in 2008, which contains songs like Iya Temi and Araele, with the entire musical production from Sam Clef. In 2016, Simi released an EP with Fowls titled Chemistry and followed it up in September of 2017 with her very own sophomore album Simisola, which was a hit, making it at number 5 on Billboard World Music Charts.
The album also debuted at number 1 on both Apple Music and iTunes charts and held that position for 3 weeks.
Apart from staying steady on her game as a singer and songwriter, she can also be credited with mixing and mastering her now husband Adekunle Gold's debut studio album, Gold.
Another attack on the Abuja-Kaduna rail line as terrorists invade Gidan rail station. And the People's Democratic Party wants to distort President Muhammadu Buhari's achievements and misinform Nigerians, says Minister of Information Alhaji Lai Mohammed. This is Plus Politics and I'm Kofi Bortels. Bandits have launched yet another attack at the Gidan station on the Abuja-Kaduna rail line. The attack occurred shortly after the entourage of the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, passed through on their way to Rijana to conduct an inspection to determine the extent of damage caused by the attack that occurred on Monday night. According to reports, a police car was set on fire while the Nigerian Railway Corporation personnel stationed at the area had to flee for their lives. It was alleged that the terrorists blew a rail track and disrupted the movement of a train heading to Abuja. Security personnel, however, able to bring the situation under control. Now, as we said, this is the second such attack in 24 hours following Monday night's attack. Joining us to discuss this is former Senator Shehu Sani, who represented the good people of Kaduna Central and, of course, the Central District. Good evening to you, Senator Shehu Sani. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Are you surprised at the fact that we've had a
large expanse of land, the Savannah land between Niger and Kaduna State, have simply become their operational base?
All right. Senator, are you there, please?
The attack on Kaduna Airport, rather, the very day they attacked the train, in the daytime, they ransacked and sacked about later in Niger State. So they have been operating freely, and up to now, the government or the security, they walked. They move in droves of 300 of motorbikes holding AK-47, and they have been achieving all their goals, one of which was the blowing up of the rail track. And we shouldn't be surprised that this was the second time this rail track was attacked. The last one in October last year, which I happened to be one of the passengers, they attacked the rail line, but by the grace of God, we escaped. And since then, the government has not taken any serious measure other than repairing the rail track. The trains doesn't have sensors that will detect whether an explosive or any object is ahead of it. So they have been using Initially, they have been using cows, cattle, to block the rail track, but when they found out that couldn't hold back the trains, they resorted to the use of explosives. So I wasn't surprised, because up to today, the government has not been able to succeed in exterminating the group that has been unleashing mayhem within Kaduna and Niger State. Don't fail to, you can recall that this was the same group that launched attacks and killed and kidnapped students of Greenfield University. They also kidnapped the student of Federal College of Forestry. They also kidnapped the Bethel Baptist School in Kaduna. So they have been operating, and up to today, there has never been any action in terms of taking the war to the camps of the terrorists.
Indeed, it's well documented that you narrowly, Senator Shehu Sani, escaped with your life last year, about 6 months ago, if I'm not mistaken, in that initial terrorist attack on the Kaduna-Abuja rail track. Are there any similarities? Can you relate, when you've listened to the accounts of those who were victims, the survivors? Can you relate with some of the things that they have been sharing with us as their experience from Monday night?
Well, it will interest you to know that the attack happened in the very spot the last attack happened in October. It also happened to the same train that was scheduled to move in the night train, 6 p.m. night train. So almost everything is the same. The difference is that this one was tragic. It was successful on the hands of the terrorists. They have been able to kill, to injure, and to kidnap people. In the last one, it was impossible because somehow the train engineers, the drivers of the train, managed to move the train to the next station. But in this time, they succeeded in a serious country. When what happened last October actually happened, what's supposed to have been done would have been to make sure that necessary steps are taken in terms of protecting the rail track. And the very spot where this explosion happened is known by everyone to be the bandits' route. That's why they always move from Kaduna to Zamfara State. So we have not done what we need to do as a country, and the security agencies have not done what they need to do. We couldn't have been here. If you Google, you will see that there was once a promise or a pledge being made that helicopters of the Nigerian Air Force would be used to escort the trains, which they started at a certain point. It was abandoned. So no one can say that this is unexpected. Rather, it was an avoidable tragedy.
Senator Shehu Sani, what would you say to the fact that just about 24 hours after the attack on Monday night, we woke up to hear of another attack on Tuesday on the same rail track in the same Kaduna State?
That is what I'm telling you. From our own sources, those who were there were saying that this, what they did was simply the beginning. And it's the same group that attacked the trains. It's the same group that launched attack on at the Gidan station. So it has always been the case. They launch attack, they kidnap, and then people have to seek for a way of communicating with them to pay ransom and get their own out. When have you heard that our security forces have ever rescued the hostages that were kidnapped between Kaduna and Niger axis? It never happened. So, and you wonder, Kaduna and Niger axis are not a mountainous areas, they are also not creeks. It's a flat land savanna. And how can 300 people on motorbikes be moving in a plain land and we don't have the technology or the intelligence to detect these people and take the war to them. That is very unfortunate. Answer, there needs to be answer. All these billions we are spending on security, we can't establish drone stations in Suleja to monitor Kaduna Abuja Road. That is, I don't understand what we are doing. We cannot fight 21st century criminality with a 20th or 19th century strategy.
All right, Senator, these groups of people you've talked about, of course, the Bethel Baptist kidnapping and attacks. You've talked about the Greenfield School attacks and all that. We've been hearing about bandits. We've heard about cattle rustlers. We've heard about kidnappers in the northwestern part of Nigeria. We previously have not really heard a lot about terrorists. How come we've now moved from bandits to terrorists? Who are these people? You were a former senator who represented the people of Kaduna Central, so you are well aware of what's been happening. We know that in times past we've had, intertribal, ethnic, geopolitical, fights and all that. So what's really going on in Kaduna State? Does this have anything to do with the farmers, herders issues, with the attacks, on locals and so on and so forth, with the conflict in southern Kaduna and villages being ransacked? Does this have anything to do with that?
Well, it's important we try to understand the difference between these three. Farmers, herders, crisis, or conflicts are conflicts between people who rear cattle and also farmers on their land. So that one is known. Herders are herders. They have cattle and they move around, and in the process they get confrontational with farmers because they attack, kidnap people, ransom happy, they release those people. And their own is not about kidnapping only. They have a political agenda and they have a religious ingredient of their own act of criminality. They go, they preach, and they kill people, and also recruit people to join them. Bandits don't recruit people to join them. They are they have their targets that they want to achieve. And terrorists are out to establish an Islamic State in Nigeria. But bandits are simply there for monetary reasons. They kill, they kidnap, they extort ransom. So it's good we try to differentiate between the two. But all of them are all criminals and are also terrorists. But it's good to understand bandits who are there for financial reasons, for their own is about extorting money, and also terrorists who have religious inclination to what they do. So this is situation. So in the land in United States nowadays, sometimes there are even conflicts and confrontation between bandits and terrorists, because terrorists and bandits are competing for control of territories in Nigeria and parts of the state. Bandits don't engage in, they have no way out there to make money. Terrorists have command and structure. ISWAP, it can also be.
We apologize. Senator, we're having a bit of a network issue with you. If you could get closer to maybe a window, an open window or something, or if you could wind down your window a bit, that will help so that we can get a better connection. But Senator, can you hear me, please?
I can hear you very well.
Okay, so please continue with your point. Maybe you can just repeat what you just said, because we had a bit of a poor connection earlier.
What I said is that farmers' herders crisis about farmers and also herders. Herders are those who rear cattle and they engage in sometimes conflicts when their cattle cross farmlands. So that's a different issue. But bandits are out to extort money by kidnapping and killing people and then collecting ransom. But terrorist elements of the Boko Haram and ISWAP, where they engage in extortion, in preaching.
Senator, are you there,
and
please?
Also in pursuit of their religious practice.
Okay, so these current attackers or recent attacks were said to have been perpetrated by terrorists. Is that narrative correct?
Hello?
Yeah. Okay, Senator. I was saying that the recent attacks were said to have been perpetrated by terrorists. Is that correct? Yeah, Senator, are you there, please? Okay, we'll try to get back to Senator Shehu Sani, formerly representing the people of Kaduna Central in the Nigerian Senate. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we want to talk some more. Senator Shehu Sani is a leading voice, especially on Twitter, as far as the happenings in Kaduna State are concerned. He's been able to put out a lot of information. He's become a critical opinion stakeholder as far as this is concerned. We'll be right back and see if we can get a better connection with him. You're still watching Plus Politics.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thought and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
I advocated sometimes that Nigeria should have to go to training to understand the real meaning of federalism. You know, we are not practicing federalism. This is a unitary system of government. So, for example, we mentioned the Ebubag wise that they are not been able to roll out the Ebubag. The point that some governors are not yet convinced that because of the structure, governance structure, some of this will make it difficult. But the moment it becomes this philosophical framework of the government, that this is how it's supposed to be, both the federal and everybody will join in making sure that we have such multi-level security architecture. What they are saying. So the point that you are having, it's telling here, there and there, because the federal government has not yet convinced on the way to go. On the other hand, they have poor understanding of what you mean by federalism. The only federalism, only in Nigeria you find this kind of lopsided federalism or what they call unitary federalism. You don't have to practice federalism. There's no part of the world that you find federalism like this. So it's a matter of willpower to take the right decision for the right to achieve the right result. So it is better late than never that the governor has come to see that look, If we keep quiet and we keep waiting for this federal government, we will die. Our people will keep dying. And the problem now is that not even the economic sabotage that is involved. The health hazard we are suffering. The young babies born are suffering it. Pregnant women are suffering it. Strangers who visit us are suffering it. We will live here are suffering it. You wash your white clothes. I like putting on white clothes. You wash your white clothes, you spray them, you wake up, it turns to black. You go and take your bath in the morning to go to work in your clean bedroom. The next thing you find out everywhere is dark. In fact, it is something we cannot take. So we now have to take our destiny in our hand.
Only one party in this entire country, out of all the parties that have the PDP, has rotation as a requirement. PDP. Not any other party. When we say competence should be prioritized, it includes everybody who has come out to save their community, including people from the south. It's quite possible that the most competent Nigerian out of all the lot who is asking to be trusted with power will come from the south. The north, we can vote for a southerner. We are not saying absolutely only a northerner is competent enough to be president. We are saying prioritize competence. No one has the right to circumscribe the right of northerners, aspire to be president of this country after President Buhari, to be candidates of their parties if their parties make them candidates, or to be voted for by other Nigerians. Because if you do this, we are circumcised. You constrain all of us into the role of leaders. And you say you vote only for the candidates. All of you can vote. Oh, thank you very much, but no, it is not good enough. We will not accept it.
Democracy doesn't exist in consensus, because consensus could just be a trick through which some strong people may want to impose a candidate on a caucus. And then when you complain, they say we built a consensus. So that may not be it.
The truth is this: somehow, somewhere, because of the way the northern part of the country was hospitable, a lot of people or some generation of illegal immigrants, took advantage either because of cultural affiliation or religious affiliation or tribal affiliation and infiltrated Nigeria. And many of them, maybe old generation, but their children are those who today are vampires, they are chameleons, they are lepers, and they are venomous. All I can tell you is this is the reason why I prefer citizenship to anything called religion or tribe or other things. And this is my example I will give. Whether you like, be as Christianic as anything, you will never be allowed into Rome or the Vatican City or into Israel if there is no proper documentation.
Welcome back. You're still watching Plus Politics on Plus TV Africa. And of course, we've been looking at the situation in Kaduna State. It's an unfolding situation, state that has been one of the best and most loved states in Nigeria, as a state that has harbored Nigerians from all over the country. You talk about Kaduna, the city of Kaduna, you talk about Zaria, and these are very popular places. And of course, not a few people have pointed out the fact that Kaduna State is home to quite a number of military formations. And if I have the time, I'll take you through those military formations. But you have, of course, the Nigeria Defense Academy, you have formations of the Nigerian Air Force, you have formations of the Nigerian Army stationed in Kaduna, quite a number of them that you can't even remember or cram all of them into your head. And so one would expect that Kaduna State will be highly secure. Unfortunately, it's been the theater of banditry and terror attacks. We had Senator Shehu Sani, who represented the people of Kaduna Central at the National Assembly. We've had some network issues with him and we'll try our very best to connect back with him. But these are some things he's been saying. He also put out a statement saying, you know what, if you're traveling to and from Kaduna by road or by rail, that until you pass the villages of Rijana and Katari before you know that you have made your journey, anything short of that, your life is on a scale of probability. So this is what, you know, they've been going through. The senator himself has also reminded us on this program how he himself was recently a survivor of a terror attack on that same train, you know. So these are the things that we're talking about. But I'd like to bring in at this point another guest. He is of the People's Democratic Party. Of course, the party has criticized the federal government without restraint or refrain following these attacks. And I'm talking about none other than Mr. Diron Odeyemi, who was a former Deputy Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Diron Odeyemi, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, and thank you for bringing me on.
All right, before we move on to a second topic, what are your thoughts on the ongoing situation in Kaduna State? Your party, the People's Democratic Party, of which you're a former Deputy Publicity Secretary, has been criticizing the Buhari-led federal government. What are your thoughts, please?
Is there anything that PDP has said that they are not supposed to say? This is a government that came to power on the promises to Nigerians that the issue of security will be their priority. But since they have come on board almost 7 years ago now, people that have lost their lives are more than the people they used to frustrate or castigate PDP during the campaign. It's quite unfortunate that the Minister for Information, Shiblai Mohammed, could come and tell Nigerians and blame PDP for whatever is happening in the area of security. Nigerians are not fools. I would have expected a decent government to answer up and own up that there is nothing they can do again regarding the promises they made to Nigerians about security. Nobody. Even the military we are talking about, either the soldiers, the police, the air force, who is safe in this country? Nobody. And if we are in this situation, and all what APC could do is to say, yes, nothing is happening in the country yet, they are on top of the situation. Upon all the money voted for security, they are still telling us that terrorism could not be fought with rigor. I think it's a shame on this country.
All right,
and it's quite unfortunate.
Mr. Odeyemi, you've pointed out the fact that this current administration came onto power with a promise to right the wrongs of the People's Democratic Party administration, where in the time of the PDP, before power was wrested from them, you know, terrorism or terrorists were planting flags in states in Nigeria like Niger State, which is now said to be controlled by bandits. Does the People's Democratic Party have a moral standing to criticize the APC, bearing in mind you left or handed over in Nigeria to Buhari that was almost taken over in the northeast by terrorists? Terrorists were planting flags and taking over SWATs, local government areas in the northeast.
If you look into the statistics of what is happening now, the ratio at which bandits and terrorists are attacking people in this country, you will still give kudos to PDP that, you know, they try their best. And as a matter of fact, promise is a debt. And by the time General Buhari was coming into office, he gave the impression that as a former military head of state, as a former military man, he has the solution to the security issues in this country. And it was on that promises, it was on the basis of that they said they were able to win election. So if by this time you are still comparing the era of PDP to what is happening in APC, then you are not being fair to Nigerians, not only to PDP. This is not a matter of PDP. Whether you are PDP, you are NPP, or we are talking about life now. Whether we like it or not, the statistics of people that lost their lives during this train mishap, they are human beings like you and me. It could have been anybody. So if you are not playing politics with this and blaming the era of PDP and comparing it to PDP, then we are not being fair. If you promise that you are coming into power and into office because you know you are capable of winning the war against terrorism in this country and you are not able to achieve that, why are you blaming PDP? Why are you comparing after almost 7 years in office? Let's be sincere. Let's be fair. There's no justification for that. And there's no reason for it in any way.
Dear Odemi, there's some people who have alleged that all that is happening in terms of whether they're bandits or terrorists or kidnappers or cattle rustlers, that all these are politically motivated by a section of the polity in Nigeria that wants to bring the APC-led federal government into disrepute and make them unpopular just ahead of the 2023 general elections. And of course, what do you say to that?
The genesis of this terrorism and banditry, if you remember, was a statement credited to the President Buhari when he said if he did not win that election, monkeys and baboon will be drenched in blood, which challenged him.
But
did Nigerians take that statement seriously?
Terrorism was already in Nigeria then, and it's been documented that that statement didn't mean that.
We are talking of the political inclination into terrorism now. What I'm trying to put across to you now is the fact that if the president said that before he came into power, then what is happening to them now? They cannot use the same propaganda they used to come into office to sustain the lies and the blackmail they did to PDP to win election. So where is the correlation? And if they have the fact that PDP or whoever are the sponsors of Boko Haram and terrorism, they are in government, they are in power. What has stopped them from making arrests? What has stopped them from, declaring them or making or pronouncing them publicly? It's as if they don't have the solution to the problem, and what they can do is just to blame whoever, especially PDP.
Okay. What would the People's Democratic Party, in fact, I should ask it this way. Does the People's Democratic Party have what it takes to turn Nigeria's fortunes around and fix the security problem in the country?
It is our strategy, and it's going to be part of the key issues that we are going to throw to Nigerians and let them know that having stayed out of office for almost 8 years now, we are more than prepared. We have our strategy. And by the time we start our re-campaign, we will tell Nigerians how we want to solve that particular problem. But if we start disclosing it now, it's possible for APC to steal, our manifesto and ideas. And that is the key word, and that is the strategy we want to use to dislodge them in 2023. So we have the strategy.
Does the PDP have, because of course these things will not be cast in stone. These things will be dependent on who emerges as the flag bearer of the People's Democratic Party at the end of its primary. I think the process is starting in April, ending in June by the INEC schedule of activities. If the People's Democratic Party is able to produce a candidate, a flag bearer, and that flag bearer wins the 2023 elections, then of course we would judge that person based on their credentials. So looking at the names that have been coming out, looking at the candidates or the aspirants that have been buying forms or that are having forms bought for them, because that's what's happening now. You're laughing. I'm intrigued to know it seems funny to you. It seems funny. But do you think these names we're hearing Atiku Abubakar, we're hearing the likes of former.
You should congratulate PDP for having eminent personalities in their fold to govern Nigeria. You see, all the names you have mentioned, can you tell me which of them is not capable to rule this country successfully? They are men of timber and caliber and people with experience, people who knows Nigerian inside out, people who at a point in time have been in office and they know if there is any mistake, they know where the mistake is. And in PDP today, there has been a committee of...
And we are where we are today.
Of course, the APC used propaganda against PDP to get into office. But Nigerians have realized that mistake. They have seen that APC lied to them about their manifesto, about the promises, and about what they are not capable of doing.
Mr. Dayemi, things were not rosy then either. In 2015, things were not rosy. People were not happy.
Can you compare what is happening now to what is happening then?
Okay,
is it the issue of fuel or the economy that you want to talk about? We are talking of security, it's a failure. We are talking of economy, it's a failure. So tell me, are we not better as Nigerians during PDP era than now? Well, of course we are.
Okay, so how did these individuals you're talking about perform? Can you? I don't think you want to mention or single anyone out. But did any of them perform, to the extent that they left Nigerians happy at the end of their tenure?
We are comparing the era of PDP to what is happening now. That means during Obasanjo era, during Jonathan's era, Nigerians are better. And these are the operators at that time. Jonathan did not claim to be an encyclopedia of knowledge. He employed people who knows a lot about economy, and he was able to hold on and sustain the economy of Nigeria. There was no sovereign. People were happy. And the same thing that will happen when we get there, because we have realized our mistakes wherever, and we have designed a strategy which is going to be part of the manifesto we are going to show to the people when campaign starts.
All right. Dior Adeyemi is a former publicity secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Dior Adeyemi, please stay with us so we take you into the next topic. Well, the federal government, through the Minister of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, has raised alarm over an alleged threat by the People's Democratic Party to organize another EndSARS protest. Mohammed said the opposition party is planning to overheat the polity and sabotage the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. Describing the People's Democratic Party as a desperate and hungry opposition, Mohammed urged the party to wait for the 2023 elections to test its popularity. The minister noted that the plan of the main opposition party was to overheat the polity, distort Buhari's achievements, and misinform Nigerians. Dior Adeyemi, I don't expect you to agree with Alhaji Lai Mohammed there, but I mean, is the PDP the right authority, the right group to call Nigerians out to protest against something similar to the EndSARS protests?
There are two ways to look, at this situation or the question. During PDP era, there are pictorial evidences that both President Buhari, Lai Mohammed, and the likes of them staged protests against PDP to Nigerians, trying to blackmail PDP. And they really worked because Nigerians took them serious. If they are now alleging that PDP is planning another EndSARS, the question is, was PDP the party that planned the first one that happened in this country? And the purpose of the EndSARS protest, has the government met the requirements of these youths? Has there been any promise made that has been fulfilled? They are only running away from their shadow. And at times, when they dish out this kind of an information, you ask them, you are in government, you have all the government apparatus with you, you have the security agencies with you, you are in control. Why can't you make arrests if your investigation proves that PDP or the personality in PDP are planning another EndSARS? I think when information like this comes out, you have to look at the messenger who is giving the information. Of course, Lai Mohammed is doing the job is being paid for. And at times, even psychologically, if you see Baba Lai Mohammed speaking, you will see that he's saying the direct opposite of what is the reality on ground and what he knows. But in their usual character, in their belief that it's only through propaganda, through lies, that they can sustain this government, they will continue to talk like this to Nigerians.
All right. What are the things that happened in the NSAS protests? One of the things that have been said rather about the NSAS protests is that even the People's Democratic Party was a part of the problem. That police brutality didn't start today. So I'd like to know what your party has done in the past to end police brutality. Mr. Diro Odemi, what has the PDP done in the past to end police brutality and ensure justice for Nigerians?
When you keep asking what has PDP done in the past, are you talking of the past of last year, of a year before? We are talking of 7 years.
Your party has warned the APC that if care is not taken, there are going to be protests. You're calling Nigerians out to organize protests, to be part of a protest that is similar to the NSAS protests and all that. So I'm saying let's look at the NSAS. We are talking about that. So let's look at that for a moment, the issue of police brutality, which drew a lot of Nigerian youth out. What had the PDP done in the past, even when they're in a position to end police brutality and ensure justice for victims?
The issue of police brutality was not pronounced and was not as bad as during APC time. And that is why during PDP era, there was no protest of that nature. So what you are now saying is this NSAS protest emanated from police brutality during APC era. You cannot point to a single day when there was this kind of protest during PDP era. So it's novel. And it happened and it started during APC time. And what we are now saying is, what have they done to address the issue raised during this NSAS protest? So there is no basis for comparison, simply because 7 years ago, this issue did not occur at all. It is the creation of APC, which was protested against by Nigerians. And if again there is any plan to stage another protest, of course they have the opportunity to check that rather than raise unnecessary alarm that PDP is planning another protest. We don't have time for that. We are still battling about who is going to fly our flag. We still have the issue of campaign. We still have the issue of organizing ourselves and setting up a proper strategy through which we want to win election. So what concerns all that, we say Nigerians are sovereign. And they don't have the solution. And the best thing they could do to sustain themselves in office is to accuse whoever and everybody about what they know is the plan of Nigerians.
So are you saying that the People's Democratic Party is not interested in leading or organizing or being a part of any protests on the state of affairs in the country as we speak?
We have every reason and justification to do it if we want to do it. And I'm not saying we cannot do it or we will not do it. But what I'm saying is, are PDP members not Nigerians? So if Nigerians decide to protest against the government that is not putting smiles on their faces, why must you now accuse PDP? And if you're accusing PDP, you have the information, make some arrests and prevent it from not happening.
There was a report that some security agencies in the country were monitoring 3 governors for allegedly having a sinister plan. They had a meeting and they alleged to have had a sinister plan to instigate protests in the north, in the south, and I think in the south as well as in the southeast or southwest. I need to be sure, but no, in the north, in the central, and in the south, yes. And what was said was that these governors, 3 of them, were being monitored by the nation's security agencies. They were placed under security watch. As a matter of fact, they were said to have had a meeting where they laid out plans to instigate or foment a crisis in the country, starting with the north. And we're told that we have a very vocal governor in the south who is organizing this. 3 governors from the opposition, PDP. So if the security authorities or security agencies have such information that they are actually trying to instigate something, they've placed these governors under security watch, then probably Lai Mohammed knows what he's talking about.
These are damning and serious allegations that constitute a threat to the entity called Nigeria. And if the minister, a high-ranking officer of Nigeria, is making this kind of an allegation, I would liken it to a coup. If you know some people are planning coup, I think what the military does in most times is to arrest and mop up the planners. You don't wait for them until the coup is is executed. So if you have information about these governors, what are you waiting for? Even if you are not ready to make arrests, let us know them and stop this blackmail of 3 governors, south, north, everywhere. Make an arrest and let's see what's going to happen. And I want to tell you, APC has a system. Whatever it is they are planning to do, they first, pronounce it and make it a kind of an information to Nigerians. Maybe they are seeing these governors, I don't know, maybe they are seeing them as a threat, towards their rigging machinery in 2023. And they think the best thing they can do is just to blackmail them or rope some things, on their neck and get them arrested. If that is the plan, I will advise them to desist because Nigerians are not fools. Right. And we are such in a situation that if you don't have concrete evidence to arrest anybody or to substantiate this claim, please don't throw Nigeria into confusion. Hands up and admit that you are not capable of governing Nigeria again instead of using propaganda against, individuals in PDP.
Dear Odebi, Alhaji Lai Mohammed was specific by saying that the People's Democratic Party, who are complaining about the state of affairs in the country and warning the Buhari administration that there might be protests akin to the NSAS protests, that the People's Democratic Party itself laid the foundation for the misery that the nation is going through or for the sufferings of Nigerians right now. And they're saying that, that what the People's Democratic Party, the opposition party, is doing at the moment is gloating that Nigerians are suffering under the present administration. Meanwhile, you and your party were the ones who, looted and ripped the nation and left with, the nation in a precarious situation, which has led to what we have today. So he said you laid the foundation for the suffering of Nigerians, when you went. I'm
happy that one of their cardinal points when they came into office is to fight corruption. If they are accusing PDP of bleeding the country, of looting the country of resources, the question is, the last 7 years, how many Nigerians have been jailed of PDP origin? Instead, what we see is that they are playing politics with it and they are just mouthing it. If you have embezzled money in this country, all what you need to do is just to cross over to APC. All your sins are forgiven. How many of them are going through trials now? Even the new chairman that was just chosen through consensus has 149 cases against, he has 149 cases with EFCC. And what are we saying? If this is the government that says, yes, we are fighting corruption, what have they done with the likes of Femi Fadika that joined them?
But the man has not been accused, has not been charged or been found guilty, rather, of any of these 149 cases.
For 7 years that they have been in government, I'm asking a cogent question. How many Nigerians were they able to jail if indeed they want to establish the fact that PDP as a government looted Nigerians?
Lai Mohammed,
how long will they continue to blame PDP?
Lai Mohammed, he talked about the fact that from 1999 to 2015, the years which your party was in power, that you derived the country of the full benefits of the oil windfall at a time of rising prices. So, like we say in journalism, you're as good as your last presentation. When the PDP was leaving power under Goodluck Jonathan, the records are there to show that.
I still continue to ask that question. If you believe that PDP or during PDP administration, the funds were looted, my brother, the issue of what is his name again? Who was accused? I've forgotten. the issue of corruption in this country, I continue to say it. If you have evidences against individuals in PDP, what has been done to bring them to book and let them be an example, to future generations? I don't understand. Honestly, I don't understand. It's giving me serious headache because what you are now saying is, yes, PDP looted the country, and for the past 7 years, we could not get it right. Is that an excuse? Is that a statement that should come from a serious government?
Okay. In costing home with this, Mr. Dirodemi, I want to ask you again, what will the People's Democratic Party, if it wrestles back power from the All Progressives Congress in 2023, do differently to set Nigeria on a right footing, on a path to recovery?
We are going to do a lot of things differently.
For instance?
And just like I said, having been out of government for almost 8 years, we are going to improve the situation of security in this country. We have our master plan. I am not bound to disclose it. And just like you have rightly said,
what is in the master plan, Mr. Odeyemi? I mean, there's nothing that you will still end up disclosing it. Is there a master plan for security? What is in security master plan, sir? Because some of the states that are going through insecurity right now are governed by members of your party. So what's in the master plan?
The master plan cannot be disclosed in the open now. We are talking about security issues. And what I'm saying is, as a serious political party, we have gone wide and far to see how we can solve this problem when we get to office, because we know that is one of the cardinal things that is going to be recorded for us when we get to office.
Are you saying are you saying your party has a solution to the security situation in the country, but you don't want to prefer those solutions till Nigerians vote you into power? In other words, you're hoarding information. That's what you're saying.
When we get to the bridge, we know how to cross it. Don't forget, we are still going to campaign.
Sir, you are saying that you have information in a plan that may potentially save lives, but you're not going to suggest this to the federal government. You don't even suggest it to your state governors. You're going to hoard it and wait to see if Nigerians will vote you into power. Is that a fair thing to do for a party that says it cares so much about Nigerians?
Every political party do have their own strategy through which they want to win elections.
So for you, it's all about winning elections, not helping Nigeria.
Of course. If they come to us for advice, we will offer the advice.
But you can make statements. You can make statements.
I know where you are going. I know where you are going. What you want to put across
you're saying that all you want to do is win elections. That's what you're saying. Not to help Nigeria. So the information you have, you won't release it until Nigerians vote you in.
We don't have the power. We are not in government. We don't have that authority to tell them that this is how to do it.
But you can,
and of course, they put to us during election that they have the means, they have the wherewithal to do it. So why are you now telling us, that we are not in government to come and, solve the problems of security? By the time we told them that the security personnel, that is the chief of army staff, the air force and everything, have a suspect, whatever is the strategy, they know they can subdue terrorism. Did they listen to us? No, they did not. Buhari only changed them at the time he thought, yes, it's now time for me to do it. So whatever advice you give to a deaf man, he will continue to do what he wants to do.
Which of these strategies have you been able to suggest to your state governors in states that have had insecurity in the southeast, in the south, in the middle belt, in Benue State? Have you suggested some of these strategies to Samuel Otom so that at least he can stop complaining about insecurity for now? Have you suggested any of these strategies to any of these people?
If you look at the composition of the security architecture of this country, no governor has that power over security issues in their domain. And the whole thing, it goes, starts from the federal level. It's being controlled by the president. And that is why we are agitating to have, our own independent security outfit, which brought the issue of Amotekun in the south. And if you compare the number of atrocities or criminality in the south, you will agree with me that it has reduced to the barest minimum, unlike what is happening in the north. So they don't have that power. It's the federal government that has the absolute power to say, yes, this is the direction we want security to go.
Thank you very much. Diro Adeyemi is a former Deputy Publicity Secretary of the opposition People's Democratic Party. Mr. Adeyemi, it's been a thrill having you. Thank you for your patience and for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
And that's the size of a package tonight on Plus Politics. I'm Kofi Patel. Thank you for watching. We return tomorrow.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on Plus TV Africa, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Tenancy agreement. So in a case that the landlord wants to evict the tenant, in a case there's no tenancy agreement, what happens in court?
Well, usually what the court will do, or what is expected of the landlord in that situation, is to look at the mode of payment. Number one, it is established there is no controversy as to the fact that the tenant is a tenant of the landlord, whether or not there is a written tenancy agreement. The fact that there is possession, the tenant is in possession of the premises, and he has made some form of payment, which is rent, to the landlord for the use of the premises, that would create a relationship, a tenancy relationship between the landlord and the tenant.
Space and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays.